I had to buy a new fixture. Hi, everybody.
Morning.
Live with Fridays with Sue and Steph. Only today, Steph's on a vacation and Jody Podal is here with me. Yay, Jody. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We're going to talk today about letting go. And I had a really weird week of watching a bird's nest outside my window with such investment and such fascination. And hi, Maria, glad you're here. I really honestly felt so emotional about watching this nest. And I took all this video and I stood there, I should have had something to put the camera on because it's, doing this. But I stood there patiently waiting for the mom bird to come and feed the baby birds. And she did. And I captured it. And then I watched these birds throughout the week get, more active and seeing their wingspan and wondering how they could fit in this little nest because there were 3 baby birds and they were sleeping in a teeny little nest overnight. And it's just crazy. The whole thing is miraculous. And yesterday I watched them leave. I heard a noise and I think one of them probably had already gone. The other one was sitting on the nest looking so big. How does it fit in there ready to launch? And then I saw the third one fly away and I got teary. And I just thought everybody should get to watch a nest of birds and realize that emotion that we have with our own kids is so, I don't know, it's so visceral and embedded within us. It's nature. Anyway, so that led us to a conversation about letting go. And Jody, tell us about your letting go experiences.
Well, I'm thinking about your story and it is cute. And it does make me think about the deer that we get in our backyard. And as much as I can't stand it when they eat our flowers, I love seeing them there. And I love when the whole family, there is this thing, you kind of take this ownership of it. So I can relate in the nature scene. It's funny when I think of letting go. It's like one of the mysteries of the world. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard when you want it to happen and everything? And yet it kind of is. And my kid, it's funny when my kids were little, 2 of them, not the third, not one of them, but 2 of them would always get really, really sad at the end of school or the end of summer camp or whatever it was, whatever they were doing. And we would talk about it and I'd say, what's going on? They were just sad that something was ending. It was hard for them, whatever it was hard for them to kind of let go of that experience. And so we kind of talked about how, on one hand, it is sad. And on the other hand, it's so great that it's sad because it means you had such a wonderful experience. And so I try to kind of hold that into my, heart when I think about these things. And, even now, I've had a lot of bonus time with my kids this year. And, it's just about time for all of them to move on. And I find myself, I can't wait on one hand. And at the same time, there is this but, oh my gosh, then what, then what? So I think it is, it's just it's a two-way feeling, So.
Yeah. It's the this that we always live with. And I find because we've all, at least I've had so much time this year to go through both being an empty nester, kids flooding in, coming and going and having a week here where Dan and I are so grateful to be empty nesters. And then again, so excited that they're coming home, but knowing that our marriage will suffer when the kids come home, that empty nest feeling is gone. Yeah. And what I have this thing happening this weekend. So my youngest is in college at Ohio State, which is a little over 2 hours from where we live. And he has a girlfriend here. So we're not the pull to come back a lot, but she is. So when he is there, I'm not really missing him so much. I feel like he belongs in Columbus. He's, he's someone to feel like he's launched and doing well. And when he comes home, I go right back into this, well, when are you leaving? Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't stay one more day? Oh. And then before he's leaving, I'm sad all over again. Like I'm having this big goodbye. And I think for me, the transitions are so weird. And it's, I have this weird thought all the time that I can never leave my house to go into rain. But if I'm in rain, I don't mind it at all. Like I'll walk an hour in rain and I just don't care.
Mhm.
But if I'm in my house and it's raining, I'll never walk out into it. So I feel like with my kids, when they're gone and doing what they're supposed to be doing, I move right into this other space. And I'm
Right.
not waking up in the morning and going like, oh, no one's home. This is so sad. Not at all. Never. On the other hand, the minute they're home, I'm grieving the fact that they're leaving again.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's universal. If anybody else has that experience, like jump in so I don't feel all alone here. But I
No,
might be crazy.
yeah, I think it's true. And it is a little bit of that out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry, and see kind of the day to day things. Like, yeah, I saw Maria just posted here. I don't know if you want to put it up, Sue, that
Sure.
it's a roller coaster for parents too,
Yep.
you know?
Wait, she jumped in with yes, and that went up. Here it is.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, it's a roller coaster. I think for parents too, we're so sensitive to what our kids are going through. But it's just it's amazing, and I think it in some ways gets harder as they get older. I've had one. I just read this article yesterday. It was in the LA Times about how many kids like 18 to 29 have been living at home this year, and I think the percentage was staggering, like 58%.
Wow.
But what the article is about, it was about like the close relationships that everybody has made, that parents and their adult kids have made, and how they've kind of reformatted that there's just much more of a friendship thing, going on, and that it's making some kids, again in this article, that are a little bit more reluctant to leave because they've come home and it's different, and they like it. And also for parents, and I was just thinking how interesting that was, because it's like culturally it's such a thing, for you to go and be on your own, but that's kind of shifted a little bit anyway. So we have this extended, I don't know what it is, extended space here, but I've been a beneficiary of that too this year, and I've really loved it,
and it's not culturally everywhere. I mean, it's so interesting how it's not cultural anywhere. Do you remember the quote? Oh, here it is. So on Tuesday, I interviewed Therese Rosenblatt, and she said something that I think is so like, other cultures don't fret and obsess about having our kids leave our home. And like, as I get older and I long for my kids to move back to town, not even in my house, but back to town, I think it's such a weird thing that we don't do any kind of village raising anymore. Like it used to be like in some cultures you have flat roofs so that you can add another story on for like the newly married kids to come live with you, or the aging parents to come live with you. And Therese said something that I thought, if we were driven by this, which is development is very insistent, I love that, because we wouldn't worry so much about where they're living. Like, is where they're living the thing that's keeping them from becoming independent? Is that really the thing?
Well, I will say living in my house is definitely preventing some of mine from becoming independent. They're living a very good life where some services are provided that they don't have to. But in the bigger picture,
well, and also this was weird. This is an aberration. But like in regular life, if they moved around the corner from you and rented their own space, it would be delightful. It would be so different. So like, even going to college in other cultures, you live at home. And those people still grow up to be adults and go on to do a next generation. So there is something American about this. Like,
we're pushing our kids away and other people are, finding ways to keep them home. I think
that it's really kind of interesting. Anyway, I do think like earlier when my oldest was the first to leave the house, she was the bird that flew first. And I was devastated. I was like, I could have used some therapy then, but I think I was too devastated to even recognize how much I needed to have some therapy. But I feel like my family was breaking.
Yeah.
And I worked so hard to build that family. And then it felt so much like,
I can relate. I feel like my oldest, even his senior year in high school, when we knew he was going away for college, I would just be overcome with emotions, and it's funny because now I look and somebody's like, talk about the last this in high school, and I'm a little snarkier, but we had it bad. And even my kids were like, oh my gosh, we're never going to be this family that we've had this whole time. And then he went, it was like, it wasn't so bad. It was okay. Like we all kind of reformed but what's weird about that, Sue, is that once somebody leaves, you kind of reshuffle and you reform and you figure out your different relationships. And so sometimes like it's a little weird when the people come back, because then you have to figure it out all over again. And we had like the in and outs. It was very strange. It's like you've finally gotten over the letting go and everything, and then they're back, and then you have to reconfigure. So that was.
First of all, I just want to thank Stephanie, because no one ever likes my analogies. So she liked the rain analogy, and partly why no one ever likes my analogies is I usually don't get them right. So thank you. I appreciate it. But I want to make one other one, which I think that when you have some kind of party, like a wedding or a celebration of some kind, and people who need to be there can't come, there's this deep sadness. And yet when the minute the party starts, whoever's there is who you're enjoying it with. Like in the middle of the party, you don't go, oh, I'm not having any fun, so-and-so's not here, right? Mm-hmm. And so we do have this ability to like open the circle and close the circle over and over again. And what happens in my house, what happened was, like, kid number 2 and 3 got to really take up that space in a way that wasn't available for them when number 1 was home. And so there are these like hidden glorious moments that then when the kid comes home, what do you do? Like, do right. They have to diminish now to make room, or can you just create a new circle? And I guess in the world of best, you start to create a new circle.
Right. But, and what alliances have been formed, and it is just the shifting sands. It is really, it is fascinating, it is fascinating. And yet in the midst of it, some things just never changed, but yes, I totally agree with you.
Well, it also makes me think how hard it is to be a teenager, which is what we talk about, because here we are adults talking about how these transitions are so hard for us. Mm-hmm. And our kids have to make transitions way more frequently than we do. And like for some kids, they're not even thinking about it. It's just not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But if you're anything like me, every time, like your kids were sad to finish something, I cried when preschool was over because I loved that teacher so much for my kid. And I loved the experience of being part of that. And it's like probably the same person who does that is the one who weeps when their kid leaves for college, but a little not normal, a little over the top. Like,
yeah, I was always able to, like, some of those milestones, I was able to look at, like, move forward, like looking ahead. It's like, okay, we're done with this. Okay, we're done with this. Like my favorite one to let go of was being done with braces. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some things.
Okay, that's a little different.
There's some things that, but you're still there. You have these relationships. You feel like, like I like feel like that was part of my life. You know what I mean? But like it is a really weird, like, letting go. And I think the other thing too is, it's going to change. Like, I guess I feel like, and I think that's maybe sometimes our kids realize and maybe they don't, but it's like, once you're out of that space, like you can't really go back. And so I think that's the other reason why you hold on a little tighter, or you realize like the next time it's going to be different, and you have to recognize that different is still, it's going to be good. It's just going to be different. And so, so I think that's, again, just try to focus on, okay, like whatever we see next, like that's going to be, everybody's going to be in a different and hopefully good place, or we'll figure it out. So.
Well, that's also the beauty of like having your teen or having your own posse, or going to our Facebook group to put it out there, mm-hmm. Which is called Working Hard to Raise Teens, mm-hmm. because I didn't know what it was going to look like when the first one left. I think I had a vision of like deep loss that wasn't replaced with a new relationship. Right. And my oldest went to Israel for a gap year. And so she called when she arrived in New York And I had this relief, like, oh, she's still in our life. We still have a relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think like having the chance to talk to other parents and hear what it was like for them I mean, you kind of, you can't pay enough money for that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it is really helpful. And I was thinking about, your daughter on her gap year, we had to negotiate with one of our kids, like, we will talk once a week. And like, and they were like kind of these forced conversations, but it just, made us all feel connected. It was routine. We got into it. But I think it is also that, they come back and you realize, oh, it's not so bad. Like, then it's easier for the next one. And then it's easier. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's different. And then also you have the different personalities. Like my kids joke, I have one who, will text several times a day. And so you still feel connected. I mean, there's so many different, ways that this letting go stuff happens, I think that's really interesting too, how, every kid in every relationship is like just shifts and changes. So,
well, I love what you said about, and I actually would encourage everyone to do this if you have kids in high school and you're thinking about this. A set day where you have established a call home. Like I have heard people say that weeks go by when they don't hear from their kids, and I would find that unbearable. So we have a Friday check-in, and it's like with all the kids. And I like, if I don't hear from them during the week, I don't mind, because I know we have our weekly Friday check-in, and I just am so grateful for that. Maria says, and Maria, you're so right. It's like going back to school in the fall. We were in home learning and now going back to school physically. Yeah. I just think like we can't underestimate how like great and tough that could be at the same time. Like going back and remembering how to socialize and maybe not being as good at it as you were before, like.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about letting go, like in these big major shifts, but there's also that kind of little letting go sometimes, where you have to let go of a comment that somebody made, or you have to let go of like like a person who you just realize you're not friends, as close with anymore. And I think that is also like that's actually, some of that is harder for me, because it's in the day to day. And, I don't know. I think, and I think for our teens too, especially, I mean, what they navigate over the course of the day, I can't even, it just makes me want to, crawl back into bed and, but they, all of these different moving pieces, and, you have to figure out what you're going to take with you and what you're going to let go.
Well, I want to talk about that another time, Jody, because I think letting go of the bruises throughout the day or throughout the week is something that so letting go of our kids is going to happen whether we agree to it or not. And letting go of those things it could be purposeful. Like we could purposeful to hold on to it or to let go of it. And that feels like a really healthy conversation. And if we can get good at it, we can teach our kids to do that well. So we're going to have to do that on a Monday with everybody on. Like, how do we let go of like the things that kind of like for our own good? It's
right.
better
Things that weigh you down, or that just
yeah.
No,
all right, everybody, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here with us. Jody, thanks for being the guest today. Thanks for filling in for Stephanie. And everybody have a good weekend.
All right. Take care. Bye.